Hello, everyone, and welcome to Insight Check. Now, this will be the only time that I have this to where I'm introducing the show, really, okay? This is the first one, okay? And it was a last-second scheduling decision, okay? You did not have the requisite prior knowledge to make this a larger event. But nonetheless, we have decided to do this. It's something we've been meaning to do, and something that's been in the talks for a little bit. So I don't want to take a ton of time. Basically what this is for fans of Charisma Saves in our D&D campaign, we will have a sometimes Q&A where your questions and questions from others involved or orbiting the space will the players themselves will be able to answer questions for you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the actual host of this show and the two people that are going to be answering the questions. So I'm going to fade into the background, and you may hear from me shortly in the future or something, but not a ton. Not a ton. Here they are. And by the way, Sarah put this together kind of last second, but it looks fucking saucy, okay? In my opinion, this is crisp. So this is a good friend of ours. This is Harvey. Harvey, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Manfred Jenseden, and I'm going to be your host. So, this is Insight Check. We're going to do a big deep dive behind the scenes of Charisma Saves, and we have Alex and Sarah, your two favorite players, at least, the ones that are here. They play Isaac and Isabella Baines. You guys want to introduce your characters or introduce yourselves just so we kind of have a foundation to springboard off of?
Alex, you want to go first?
Yeah. I'm Alex. I play Isaac Baines in Charisma Saves Campaign 2. Probably know me from the first one as Velios. Isaac is about this 5'10" human. He plays a class that is unreleased currently. It is, at this point in time, quoted as being called the Scientist.
Interesting. I have many questions about that. In fact, I've asked Jake a couple, and he's been very mysterious about them. But I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more about that as things get more serious. Thanks, Sarah. You want to tell us a little bit about Isabella? Sum her
Yeah.
up.
So I'm Sarah. I play Isabella. Isabella is it's already out. She is a living doll construct that used to be human and is the twin sister of Isaac. And she is a symbiote warlock with the now beloved mistress. And we're figuring out how that relationship works. So
Awesome. So yeah, I'm interested first and foremost. Like you said, you both have custom classes that Jake created for you. How did that come to be? What came first? Did you come up with the
Ooh.
idea for the class, for the characters? Is that a big question?
Okay, I could ramble about this because when I first came up when we were talking about like new character ideas, me and Alex were like, we should totally be twins. That was like the first thing that we
And that
thought.
was like years ago.
3 years ago, we were like, we should play twins together. And I'd started to design them, and originally I was gonna go with like Pact of the Tome Warlock, just like normal stuff that was in the player's handbook. And then I think Venom came out, like the first one. And there were so many Venom memes, and around that time, I just remember talking to Jake about it, and like I was like, it'd be kind of cool if like the patron wasn't like an eldritch thing, but it was more like literally a venomy kind of symbiotic relationship. He's like, all right, I'm writing it. And that was it. He just took off. So he was like, yeah, I have a whole subclass ready.
So you
Editor's
don't
note,
have.
editor's or producer's note. I spent an unblinking 26 straight hours at my desk. desk because I was high as balls and just feverishly writing. Anyway,
struck by your muse. If you haven't checked out the class, you can do so, and you should. It is ridiculously in depth. I'm interested to see where we go as Isabella levels up, because yeah, there's a bunch of different paths. But so it started off as more of a joke, or like just a stray thought that just turned into something.
It was literally like I think because Randy was talking about playing like a tiefling sorcerer, and then we were the two twins, and then I can't remember. It was a very goth looking party to start off. But yeah, the twins were just an idea, and I started sketching and playing around with it, and then eventually we were like, "Now let's make this like more custom, more crazy."
Hell yeah. Well, Alex, what made you want to be a scientist? Coldplay
Uh,
song?
Jake and I have been talking about this for a super long time, like probably around the time this character got created. I kind of wanted, nothing like the official was kind of like piquing my interest, so to speak, because I wanted Isaac to be like super unique, right? Because it's either like, oh, you get to play all this stuff, and nothing was really fitting the direction I have for Isaac, which I cannot talk about at all, um, unfortunately. Uh, and it was just like, let's do something crazy that no other class has. And that's kind of where it ended on, was like, what can we give this class that no other class does?
Well,
And
that is.
the
No, go
culmination
ahead.
of Jake's crazy ADHD rattled high sprees that he goes on and makes stuff is just, it turned into this. And once you guys can see it, you'll understand.
How many revisions did you go through before you guys settled on the final thing again?
looks like a question for the producer. I'm getting from the producer that it took 8 different iterations and countless hours to put together a full
Jesus.
class with 3 full functioning subclasses that I believe only Alex has seen other than myself. And it's a constant work in progress. We have tweaked already through playtest another thing and gave it a buff. But I think we're really close. Like, as Alex playtests this out, by the time it's released, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have, like, I mean, it just offers so much. And you know me, I kind of like a bit of customization. So it's and Alex was a huge inspiration for it. I mean, he was like, "Hey, I kind of want to do this." I was like, we can work on it." But yeah, about 8 iterations. The first iteration isn't even close to what this is. This is very different. Specifically, we wanted to avoid magic, so that's kind of the goal.
It's a very unique class with no magic, essentially.
Interesting. So you said that you had some specific um, desires for the characters. Is there anything beyond not being magical? Because we did see a very very tense encounter where um, Isaac had to perform surgery on a farm boy, which is something that I've never quite experienced anything quite like in D&D. It was pretty much, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat for the entirety of that, was like hushing the animals and stuff.
I think all of us were kind of on the edge of our seat for that one. That was a tense moment that I think probably one of the tensest things that I've dealt with in Charisma saves. We've been through a lot of tense stuff in campaign 1, but like being level 1, doing all of that is just such a different level of tense. It's so scary.
It's also interesting when you're not the person responsible for that now. Like for me, shifting from being this sort of party caretaker to like, the sociopath that isn't good at that kind of stuff. It's kind of like, well, all I can do is sit here and try to
Hope
contribute.
the dice roll correctly.
That too. So,
Well,
it's,
since you brought up
Whoops, chat.
sociopathy, we do have a question from the Discord from Panacea, This is actually for Alex. I think. I'm sure Sarah, you can chime in, but does Isaac seem to be apathetic at best towards Isabella's sociopathic tendencies?
Uh, I don't want to pull this card already, but spoiler. I don't want to pull that
That's
card
fair.
yet, but it's a spoiler. It's kind of yeah.
Okay, even I don't know, but is it? Oh God, I'm wondering if we could like get like a half answer or like a hint.
Maybe.
Like,
I mean, can you message Sarah at least and just satiate her curiosity?
I'm trying to
Oh
think of
God,
like
no.
how do you
There's 2 people that know this in this entire world.
is it related to his profession moving forward, possibly?
No.
Okay. All right, that's actually interesting to me. Okay.
See, I was just assuming it was just because they're siblings and he's just like, "Eh, it's just that's just how she do." Well, interesting. That actually makes me want to brings up one of my questions that I had, which is I'm gonna go ahead and guess that you're just gonna say spoilers, but Alex, is there anything that Isaac doesn't want Isabella to know
Oh
about him
God.
or his past?
The headset off.
I mean, I'm sure multiple
No.
things.
Spoiler.
God damn
Is
it.
is there anything not spoiler related that you can you give us just a crumb of something?
I can. This one in itself has to relate to Isaac being a surgeon. There's your crumb.
There's something about his dark surgeon past.
I mean, we do know that he did you and your father, right? Like you guys would like kidnap or like pets would disappear. Is that right?
In a sense, we use those to train to become a surgeon, like med school, except not med school.
I see. All right. Well, you know what, Sarah? Let's same question for Isabel. Is there anything that she is keeping from Isaac? She seems to be pretty
I'll be honest, I
frank.
don't think she has a filter when it comes to that. Especially with Isaac, like the way that she sees him is kind of like this is the person that I can trust with everything. Um, I think the only thing that she hasn't like there's nothing she's actively like keeping from him. Maybe she's unintentionally doing so with like Mistress coming in and sort of like being another voice in her head, but it's not conscious at all, I would say.
That's kind of the sense I get. Like you said, she doesn't have a filter. She's not exactly blunt, but yeah, she just says exactly what she's thinking.
Yep.
Um, so we Krista Willow from the Discord asked I would ask Isabel about the relationship with Mistress since we're talking about Mistress. Isabella is clearly not fully emotionless because she cares for her brother. So I wonder about Isabella and Mistress's internal dialogue and if there are places in the mind that Mistress does or doesn't have access.
Um, well, me and Jake haven't done any sort of like out of like away from the table one-on-one talk with her and Mistress. Mistress has been pretty quiet so far, other than what people have heard. Um, I like to think that it's mostly a sort of the internal dialogue is probably like fighting back impulse because Mistress is constantly, like, ooh, that looks tasty. And I think Isabella has enough sense to go, that's not really smart to do right now. And that's kind of the extent of their relationship right now. Um, oh God. And also about her caring about Isaac and everything. I don't think she's like the way she shows she cares about people is a little different, and the way she cares is different as well. I wouldn't say that like she feels emotion the way that other people do, or that you would assume. It's she feels it differently and expresses it differently.
Well, that answers one of my other questions, whether or not you and mistress have conversations that we're not privy to. So apparently not yet.
Yeah, no, nothing
Um,
yet.
but yeah, kind of jumping off of that. So, like you said, Isabel kind of has this very different sense of kind of morality. It's almost utilitarian. Like she's kind of okay eating. Like doesn't really seem to bother her.
Yeah, I think the best way I could describe the way I think of her thought process is literally like I don't remember if it's psychopath or sociopath. I think it's sociopath. Sort of like a Dexter character where like there's definitely a violent urge which is represented through Mistress, but the rest of her just doesn't really she doesn't process people as like she doesn't have the empathy for random individuals on the street or anything. I don't even know if empathy is the word I would use for like how she feels about her own brother. So
Interesting. So is this something? And again, if we get this military, obviously, I'm gonna not answer. But is this something that existed prior to her uh, transferring into the doll body?
she doesn't quite remember, but she knows that it was different and she was capable of feeling some things. But I guess it's getting a little in the spoiler territory. The way that they were raised was not really a healthy environment, we'll say. So she might have been a little stunted, and she was definitely indoors and unsocialized as a child. Um, so she doesn't have a lot of experience with that. But it was definitely different that she remembers.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely interested to see some of that come out. Um, Alex, do you have any insight as to, or can you give us a few more breadcrumbs as to what Isaac was like as a child? Was he kind of the same character?
Isaac was kind of forced to be socialized with his father. So he's been social his whole life in that regards. But like outside of, because so Isaac's been with his father obviously since he was born, but like training to be a surgeon since that's all he's known. So it's been him and his father. He would go with his father to stuff that he just wanted to watch and stuff like that. But like outside of like doing that surgeon stuff specifically, he was kind of reclusive on his own too. Didn't really have a lot of friends. Didn't have a lot of things he would go do outside of that because it's all he's known. So he was just trying to be good at it, just being a surgeon.
Yeah, that kind of comes through without it having ever been like explicitly said, I think, in the way that you play him. So yeah, that's kind of the sense that I got. Uh, we do have a question from Sky Comet Fallen Angel about Isaac. Is if Isaac doesn't have a medical degree, how is he licensed to practice medicine? Is he licensed to practice medicine?
That is a no. No medical license at all.
I mean, is there this might be a producer question, but is there a larger licensing board?
Yes, I was going to say the wrong place. The Halvian Vales does have a Ministry of Medicine, to which Isaac was at some point destined to approach other aspirations and other events. Um, um, we sort of let's just say he's taking a break, and maybe he'll go back and finish his degree at another time.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. Who hasn't been there? You got to take a gap year now and then, right? Take a gap year, go
Yeah.
into a crevice, fight some goo monsters. We've all done
Yeah.
it. So I'm kind of curious. So like you said, you guys, the Banes are very sheltered. The first time we meet them, they're coming into this large big city for presumably the first time, or like the first time for like an extended journey on their own. Um, is what they kind of seem to take things kind of in stride, but like within their first day, they've met a very unscrupulous taxi driver, an opium addict, famous author, uh, broken and entered into a warehouse, met a mob boss. Well, not joined the mob, but they are now friends of the family. Um, is this? Do they just think that this is how big city life is?
I just view her. So Isabella's kind of grown up a lot in her own head and fairy tales she liked to read. So I think there's a little bit of like a fiction to her and sort of like, like every hero goes out and just does whatever they want, it seems. They just kind of don't ask for permission. Maybe that's kind of rubbed off on her in a weird way, where she just kind of thinks she's the main character and will just impulsively do what she thinks is like, that's what I want to do right now. Uh, I think
Producer's
that
note: she
like
said the word hero.
yeah, the hero of the story. um, look, everyone sees themselves as the good guy. No, I think the whole thing of her just literally is just been following impulse. She's not even considering like this is what city people do. She's just everything that comes up to her is an individual choice, and it's do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? Pretty much. It's purely through that lens. I don't know how it is for Isaac though. He seems to kind of be indulging her sometimes, so
Isaac, upon when he got to the city, there's like basically his main focus is to finish the serum that he's been working on. So essentially, as long as he can get to that goal, there's not a lot of things that would stop him. So if it comes down to breaking into warehouses or stealing from someone, he doesn't give a shit. He is absolutely just down to do it as long as he can finish what he has to finish.
So since you brought it up, let's talk a little bit about the serum that you're trying to finish. Um, so we also know that part of the reason that you guys have come into the city is to settle some business with Atticus Kane, aka Magic Jeff Bezos. Um, we know that Isabella was betrothed to him at one point, and then that fell apart, and then he was involved in her transformation, correct? Um, and he also stole something from you, Isaac, right?
Technically, he stole the serum, the finished one that I was working on.
So that
He
is
stole my
that is the
work.
serum that he stole.
Yeah, and research and stuff like that.
Now he is apparently dead. Um,
Correct.
yeah, what the fuck's up with
but
that?
I
Boy,
mean,
would I like to know.
yeah, I have no answers. I have only questions. Um, but we do know his company is premiering an invention. Do you have reason to suspect that that's related to your serum in any way?
I
Or
mean,
rather, does
Isaac
Isaac?
absolutely suspects it. Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Interesting. So can you tell us anything about this mysterious serum? I think you've referred to it as an elixir a couple times. Is that what you're there to like you've been trying to get premises to continue your work, I assume that's to recreate this or finish what you started.
Right. Yeah. It's basically I need to get like the serum itself is the main point of man. How do I of the class essentially, right? So it all ties into the class essentially the way that we're flavoring it with this. Obviously, it's different. It doesn't have to be, but we're flavoring it this way. Um, man, it is hard to talk about.
Human advancement? Question mark?
Yeah, we've talked about that a couple times as like human advancement, right? So it's kind of like Isaac has a limp. It's a permanent limp. He's had it for a while. Walks with a cane. He's like, what can I do to fix this? How do I fix this imperfection? Essentially. So at the moment, he is working on trying to create a serum that can fix the imperfections of people without the use of moon chips.
Okay,
Because in the
interesting.
Veils, a lot of people use the moon chips or moon shards as like enhancements, right? Kind of like, oh, what's that fucking movie? We talked about this before when we were talking about the Veils, and I don't remember.
A movie? Because I think
It
of
gives
it's
cyberpunk
like magic
vibes.
Yeah,
cyberpunk.
cyberpunk stuff. That's right. Yeah, so more cyberpunky, right? Like they take the moon chips and they put them into themselves to like make themselves look better or cooler and stuff like that. So, and obviously, as what we know of moon chips, they are bad to use constantly and use a lot of. So he's trying to circumvent that from happening. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
I guess we will. Kind of continuing off the Atticus Kane talk while we're on it. Lola from Discord wanted to know a bit more about the arranged marriage that was supposed to take place. If we can get into that without too many spoilers. Specifically, just how the siblings you two both felt about it, and
Um,
then
well, interestingly enough, I guess, Isabella just saw it as part of her duty to the household, because that's what she was there for, basically. Um, I do know that the reaction when people were like, "Wait, she was betrothed after she changed?" Because a lot of people assume marriage is for procreation and heirs and all that stuff. But the mindset of the Veils is so much about sort of this like transhuman idea that that was why she was an appealing like partner because she is the ideal of transhumanism. So, um I think she would have been fine going through with it. I don't think she really had strong feelings about it in any way. The thing that made her okay with killing him later is that he fucked over Isaac. So that was the point where it was like, nah.
Isaac was he was okay with it, just based on the fact that obviously it happened when we were kind of younger, a little bit younger than we are now. It was when the research first started to really lead somewhere, and he offered to just like, hey, I'll give you everything you need to create this. And I was like, all right, that sounds cool, because I was a young dumb kid. So then obviously it came back to bite us, and now we are aware. Isaac was absolutely okay with killing him eventually at some point, just because obviously, well, he stole everything I had, right? Because everything I've worked my years for was to create, and then it was just gone.
oh, understandable. Um, let's see. So another thing I was kind of wondering, just kind of about the Baines' general uh, uh, not personality, but the way they interact with the world. Um, so we get the sense early on that people are just taking advantage of them and kind of bilking them for their money, uh, and that's kind of become a recurring thing. Um, Is that something that they are aware of or are catching on to, or do you guys just not care?
I think that they're catching on to it, especially because Ink seems to have kind of like rolled back on some of it. Like, oh, I was gonna fuck you guys over, but actually you're cool. Like stuff. She's kind of literally admitted she wanted to rip us off. So I think that Isabella is a little wise to it now, but I don't think it's her automatic assumption right now that everyone would want to fuck them over. Um, I think she sees it as, well, if that's the asking price and it's fair and we have the money, then I will just give them the money. It's very straightforward, very utilitarian. So,
Isaac's kind of like young kid, new to a brand new city, big city that he's never been to before. So he's kind of learning as he goes. He's obviously catching on to it now after conversing with Ink, and just interactions in general. But he's kind of like the same thing. It's like, oh, I have the money for it. Cool, done.
DM's
Like it's
note:
just
the way I interact with you guys is like your high schoolers with your first debit card. So
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
kind of how
pretty
it
much.
seems to be. Like you've always had means, and now
We
you still
stole
have them to some
daddy's credit
extent,
card,
right?
basically.
But you've never had the responsibility of poverty, so it's like
Mhm.
it's interesting.
yeah. So like it's obviously like right now, like he knows he has money to get some stuff, so he doesn't worry about it. But when it starts to get low, it's gonna be like almost like a culture shock,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna be interested to see if we ever are super broke.
Well, it's not usually polite to talk about money between friends, but you guys feel comfortable sharing how much gold you guys have with you?
Oh shit, wait, I have it written down, I think. Where's my book?
Wait, very trusting with your money.
Uh
Uh, Before we split up the 200 that we just got, I have 18 gold and 2 platinum.
oh, did I not write it down again? I have at least 20 gold, 1 platinum, and 9 copper. I have some silver in there too, I just don't know how much, but
We're walking that line.
Isaac's been spending all the fucking money, even though she keeps being like, do you want me to pay for this? I have money. Do you want me to pay for this? And he's like, no, I have it. So it's like, I have money.
A symptom of playing with real currency is them not knowing exactly how much they have, which I kind of like.
Yeah. Cause like I'd have to grab my coin purse and start counting the coins. But it's around 20.
So not exactly bottomless coffers, at least not anymore.
We started with about like 400 gold.
Yeah.
But we had to
You
buy tickets to get out of town, so
burned through a lot of that pretty quick.
oh,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, the tickets were
We got,
pricey.
we didn't wanna get, like, economy tickets, you know? So we got very expensive train tickets.
We had like our own personal rooms.
at
It's
the
kind of nice.
yeah, the with the private cars and the Zephyr trains. Um, Actually, out of curiosity, so did you guys? Was there a session 0 that you guys
Yeah.
did at all? That kind of what went into that?
Oh, boy. So, our session 0 was starting off with the 2 of them running away the first night and, uh packing their bags, running out of the house, and running to the train station. Buying the tickets and then being on the train. Most of the session was on the train, um, in which we learned about the black goo, like before everyone else, because there was like commotion on the train. Um, I made a dude super uncomfortable on the way up, which was probably the best moment that I'm so sad it wasn't on stream. I'm pretty sure it was something like he was trying to make like a sexist, like shitty comment or something. He like called her
Mm-hmm.
like sweetheart or toots or whatever. It was something, but it was very condescending. And she just looks at him and answers him in a very flat and honest response. And he was like confused because she wasn't like insulted. She just matter of factly put this guy in his place. And then also confused one of the workers on the train because they were trying to keep people calm while there was commotion. And she's like, well, they were like, oh, everything's fine, and she's like, well, if everything's fine, then why is there a commotion? It's clearly not fine. Her curiosity got the best of her, and for some reason, and I don't know why, Alex, I guess, could say, he goes, "Yeah, you go check it out. I will support you in going indulge your curiosity to poke around in the cargo."
I mean, what good brother wouldn't support their sister, right?
He's very supportive because both of us snuck to the back of the train where they had this cargo, and saw this box being wrangled by a bunch of people strapped into the cart. And it was funny because Isaac wasn't sneaky enough and basically had to get out and distract people. And Isabella went forward and even avoided some of the people on the train by climbing on top of the train while it was moving. And then she snuck into the thing, saw the box, knocked on it, had her little knock knock thing, realized it could respond, and then left to go back because there were people coming. She tried to break into the box, but it didn't work. So she left, and that's whenever our first session is us getting off of the train, and immediately after all that just happened.
I'd like to note that she grabbed an emergency axe off the wall and tried to slash a glass, like a thick glass box.
I tried to break the lock off.
It didn't take, but it was funny.
But I was basically wailing away at this box trying to break whatever the fuck was in it out because I was just that curious, and had to leave. Didn't work.
Is there a chance, Jake, that actually could have worked? That she could have broken the lock?
Oh yeah, of course. But I knew that she had like 7 strength or whatever the fuck she has. 6 strength.
Yeah, but like,
the odds were just so low that like if she did get the lock open, I mean, there's always a chance for you guys to like speed up or slow down what I think is the timeline of events that's going to happen. And it happens every session to some degree. So yeah, I would have just it would have played a little differently, but nonetheless, it would have been fun. It would have been very interesting to have the symbiote on the train at that time. I thought it was a very low chance, so I wasn't that concerned about it. But I had contingencies, of course. I don't think I've ever just like boxed you guys out of a possibility. But knowing something is incredibly improbable is basically the same thing. So I guess, but like just like real life, to where like I really didn't think she'd be able to get the lock and it open, and then move the box down to like get the latch open, and then do that all under the secrecy of no one being there. Like it seemed like for level 1 characters tough. Now we give a few spells to some people, and you guys try to do that again. I feel like you guys could do that right now with the group.
I was surprised I even got into the fucking train car. I'm gonna be honest. Like when I was like, "Fuck, where do I go?" and I climbed on top of the roof, I was like, "This isn't gonna work," and it worked. Which was also that was a good cinematic moment we didn't get on camera either, where Jake described overlooking the train journey as I stood on top of the train car for the first time, seeing the outside world. It's a good moment.
Well, there are a lot of good moments like that. There's a hell of a lot of production value that goes into this. So what are some of your favorite images and effects and stuff that have come up? Specifically, I was kind of wondering what you guys would like to see like fan art of. I know we've had there's been fan art of ink that's been drawn, but is there anything that specifically that like jumped out at you as, man, I really would like to see that drawn, animated, or whatever?
I'm so curious on what people think like the Reverend looks like from Host. Like I want to see how people interpret that in their heads, because I feel like it would tell me a lot about them too. Especially if he used to be a religious person. because I feel like we all deal with that trauma. We all share that. That and the fucking anything from oh shit. Oh no. Harv.
Harv.
Oh, it's all gone. It's rip. Oh, you're muted.
Whoops. Whoopsies. Yeah. I'll jump in for a second from this view while Harv gets back in and fixes the stuff. But the Reverend is someone that I'm super excited for you guys to continue to interact with. And I'm glad that you didn't try to do violence immediately, because I don't know. First of all, I don't know how that goes for you guys, but also I don't know how that goes for anybody involved. And he's just such a fun character that I think you guys have sussed out is more interesting than just a bad guy. So I'm really interested to see just sort of where that, to call a relationship might be strong, to see where that relationship goes over time.
Well, it's kind of a relationship now that one person has drank the goop sacrament.
The goop sacrament, definitely. So I described him vaguely in my description on purpose. As far as here, I'll bail out. We'll go back to the good looking stuff as Alex walks away to take a shit in the middle of the podcast.
For some reason, Alex is gone.
You've been drinking a lot of water, okay?
Oh my god.
That's what the pee Gatorade bottles are for.
I don't have a bucket, and I'm not in my basement, so it's unlucky.
Oh
anyway, we can get back to the question, but the Reverend himself is in my head likely a very different person than everybody else's head, which is kind of intentional. I think as you describe stuff as a DM, you can get a little too complicated, and I think it's fun if you just sort of give a vibe and let everybody sort of figure it out, because then the characters become a little bit more real when you can film like. Then if you ask for more clarifying info, I'll give it to you. Like, what are his bones like? I'll give you some bone information. I don't know.
Oh, also, I was gonna say, any art of Mr. Buttons, give me Goop Cat. I want to see slime cats everywhere. Just so many slime cats. That is my request.
The only thing you want from it is a myriad of goop cats. Well, Alex,
Did you have moments or things?
Honestly, like for me, like personally, I just like seeing the fan art in general. Like literally any and all of it makes me really happy. It just means people are like willing to put in their spare time to draw stuff for us, which is super dope.
Randy, by the way, mentions that he pictured Reverend Gill as John Goodman from the Righteous Gemstones, which I can
kind of see that.
Yeah, it's not
like,
quite what I was picturing.
A little older than I was giving.
You know
off,
what
but,
I thought? You know what I thought? I thought of Robert Pattinson in that movie we watched in the deep. He's like a deep South pastor with this thick fucking accent.
Okay, that's a cleaner vibe than I imagined in my head.
He's he kind of comes in and like takes everything over. He's got that creepy vibe because
that with like a sort of a scraggly. I imagine in my head it's more like nefarious Father John Misty.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like imagine if he or the lead singer of, if you guys know, this band is now defunct, Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. That guy specifically is a huge inspiration for what if that guy ran a cult. Go ahead and Google him. And I'm telling you, if you Google Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, first off, they have one good song. You've probably heard it. It's called Home.
Oh.
Anyway,
wow,
that guy's who I imagine in my head a little bit, because he's so skinny, and he's also like, I don't know, he just looks like he could run a cult, especially like a 70s Manson-esque cult. That's the vibe.
It's like cult Jared Leto.
I was picturing the one of the dicks from Letterkenny. You know, just very folksy and just smiling, but smiling a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Well, if anyone in chat wants to suggest things for people to draw, hell yeah, go for it. Me personally, I I really want to see somebody bring the hang houses to life, like a really
Ooh.
panoramic, like digital painting. That would be super sweet.
It is so hard to describe what is in my head for that as well. But again, imagine a bridge crossing a city, and then in the arch of it, in the center of it, is just like a favela that grew and sort of like sprouts out from the inside of it, and there's houses hanging off the bottom of it over a chasm. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can really bring that to life, but someone somewhere, if you do that, oh man, that's one of my favorite locations.
Uh-huh. So we haven't really talked too much about the other party members, Ink and Soren, Ink on Skin, with the wonderful accent. Um, so how has your guys's what was your initial opinions or impressions of them, and have they changed at all as you guys have kind of been through some shit?
Oh boy. Definitely ink has changed a little bit. I think his first impression is this is an unprofessional taxi driver. Not very good at her job.
Fuck.
Um, or maybe she is good at it, but she was very crass around such cultured uh rich kids. Um, so definitely I think she's starting to see her as more of a Isabella can appreciate her qualities now, her quirks. I think there almost might be a little bit of joy in the way she torments her. 'Cause everything Isabella does seems to drive Ink up the fucking wall. I think that it's starting to get a little bit fun. As for Soren, there's not much there. I think the first thing that's kind of given me any surprise is that he, on a whim, decided to take some weird goop sacrament, um, just because he was curious about it. So there's a little of a common thread between the curiosity, I think.
So Isaac, um, something that he does is he takes notes on every person that might be important.
Oh,
So each person has their own note page in my notebook.
are you gonna read it?
I'll read you a couple.
I
Uh,
love this.
so for Ink, one of the points is talks too much. One of the other points is because it's just like things that like ate a testicle or does not like losing. So he has things that are basically he's traded out for every person in the party.
Okay, what is Soren's?
Soren's is actually kind of normal for the most part. Um, it's just like things that he notices. So like Soren seems focused on something. Obviously, we know what that is now. The voices in his head and trying to dive to figure out what the voices mean and stuff like that. He wrote that down. Noise in head linked to magical breakdown, possibly. Just quiet. He's quiet, but he seems like he's quiet for a reason. Like he's calculated in a sense. Yeah,
Or the opium?
and the opium, the drug addiction.
This feels like a Batman dossier on the party over time.
Yeah, essentially. Like it's each person has their own page, and I just keep adding to it when I notice
Okay,
things.
I'm really sad he didn't do my Batman monk so that he could make a contingency and try to fight all of you at once with his plots.
I mean, he's kind of on his way to being Doctor Hugo Strange, as it is. So not that far removed. You just need to bulk up once you get your
Just gotta bulk up and learn
human
magic.
perfection serum. You can just yeah, wear some tiny glasses.
Serum myself some magic ability.
It's just steroids.
Isaac is going to invent a super soldier serum, and then the campaign's going to go drastically in a drastically different direction.
Someone's gonna become Captain America. No, it'd be Captain. What's the name of the
Well, we
continent?
already have Venom, so We just start making everyone else into superheroes or
The
anti-heroes.
continent is Ubron, but the
Captain Ubron.
you're from the Vales. Well, it's not Captain North America. It's Captain
No, I
America.
know, but yeah, but
It
like
doesn't include Canada, goddammit.
true.
Yeah, so I
True.
guess it'd be Captain wherever you decided if you wanted to be Captain America
Captain Vales.
with his 6 strength or whatever the fuck it is.
It's
Actually, no. Wait.
No, it's
Is
10
it
strength,
Isaac?
6 dex.
Isaac is the strongest person in our party.
At 10 strength. Tough.
Okay.
Well, have you ever used a walking cane or anything, like actually held onto it, or a crutch or something? That shit is not actually very easy or helpful, in my opinion.
That's fair.
So would Isaac, if it like, let's just follow this, not to get too far into the weeds. If you invented a super soldier serum, would you try that? Would Isaac try that on himself, or who would be of the people we've met, who would be the guinea pig for that?
Of the people we met, if he were to choose a guinea pig, it would be none. But he would also absolutely use it on himself. What he thinks is perfect.
Reckless.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the first time you do a human trial, you're going to do it on yourself.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Well, now, so you've got a physical deformity that you were looking to cure, and you're okay with testing things on yourself. Now we're into Spider-Man villain territory.
True. Look, we're
That's
both
okay.
Spider-Man villains. That's how it works out.
But yeah, we haven't really talked too much about Mistress, who, as has been noted, is a fan favorite already. So I was curious, where did Mr. Buttons come from, and was that your idea to have Mistress take the form? Was that something that you and Jake decided on, or did?
So, oh God, I don't remember when this happened. I think me and Jake, because we've been talking about this for literally 3 years.
It certainly revolved around an Ellie joke.
I think it was an
Certainly.
Ellie joke about her being a blob, and then got the idea to sketch a gross blobby symbiote cat that's just like dripping, and he was like, "I love that. We're making it happen." That was it. He saw my idea and he was like, "I'm doing it. Like I'm incorporating it in some way. It will be a thing." And so he surprised me with how he incorporated. I had no idea how that was going to show up in the campaign whatsoever. The cat mistress, I didn't know the personality of any of it, just that symbiote and cat. He made the magic happen.
That was going to be my next question, was Mistress's personality, because I remember you were extremely surprised when she
Yeah,
spoke for the first time.
because okay, Jake, the whole time he was like, "I'm not telling you what the symbiote voice is. You're gonna hear it when you hear it for the first time. Will be the first time you hear it." And I told him, he was like, "Did you have preference for like how it acted or whatever?" I was like, "I don't care. Go crazy. Just do like whatever feels cool. I trust you." So he entirely came up with all of that on his own, and it was a total surprise to me what the symbiote was even going to be like. And so far I really like it. It was totally unexpected and I love it.
It was. Did the first time Mistress got real hungry, there was definitely a change in tone there. Was that was that also a surprise?
Considering the path that I talked about going, that wasn't as surprising to me because I kind of know where I'm going in the symbiote thing as I level up, and that makes more sense. The ragey side, definitely.
Let's see. So I thought we had another Mistress question in the Discord, but I think I was looking at something else. But let's do another Discord one. This is also from Lola. who just wants to know, how do Isaac and Isabella feel about going from high society to crashing at Ink's house with meat logs? You guys still dress pretty fancy. Is that something that comes from wanting to keep up appearances, or is that just that's just what you have to work with?
I
Well,
think. Oh, you go first. You go
I'll
first.
say, well, at the moment, these are kind of the only clothes we have.
That is one thing. Yeah, we packed like 2 sets of clothes each for us in our suitcases. We only brought 1 suitcase per person of stuff, and we had to pack our like whole lives in there. So it's definitely sort of like still this is just what we have. But it's definitely I think they take pride in their appearance. I would say. I feel like Isaac does care about it, but Isabel is the one that pays attention to it. Like I don't maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Isaac doesn't think about the fact that he needs to look nice. It's just kind of a thing that's always
Yeah, it's
been
just always been available to him.
because
It's,
like she was always trained and mom and everything would just do the laundry, lay the clothes out, all that like is a routine. So for Isabella it's more like just a routine thing. Like this is you need to take care of your things because it's the only things you have and they need to last. And also when people are clean, they're taken more seriously.
There's a
So
specific scene when you guys did the hotel looking up for the guy's wife, basically, where Isaac said, like, you sort of obviously you took charge in that moment and sort of walked to the thing, but you knew that you were the most professional and most should be there looking person. And I think that's part of Isaac's sort of like, if you look the part, people won't even question.
yeah.
And you guys come from that, so it's interesting to see. And I'll say it, the two of you of the group are the most fashionable of the two, like the two in real life.
mhm.
And so I think
Yeah.
I think it shows through when you guys care about the clothes and stuff. And I'm interested to see as you get more money and start visiting like maybe the many boutiques of the place that is basically cracked in half fantasy New York, where you will head to and what kind of things you'll get into, just in service of your own vanity and I don't know, aesthetic. I think that's fun. Plus Sarah likes to
Yeah,
make the art.
Isaac's.
Also, I specifically gave her I gave Isabella sewing and a sewing kit as part of her character for that also to be like she's about appearances and keeping them up. I mean, her whole thing is that she's like a pretty thing that's been made to be looked at. So of course appearances matter.
Yeah, Isaac's kind of on the train that Jake mentioned. Like, if you look the part, no one will question you, right? Like, if you saw someone walk in with really nice clothes on and it was really clean and really kept, like, you wouldn't even question them, right? They look like they own the place, so you just you just treat them like they own the place. If you walk in like you own the place, it's less questions.
Sure, and kind of like you said, how Isaac was brought up a certain way to have certain standards and expectations. It wouldn't surprise me if he was just raised to be like, this is you get up every day, you put on a tie or whatever. That's just how you present yourself to the world. So that definitely makes sense. I do have to say, as a fellow poncho lover, I object to you being described as the most fashionable, but who am I to judge?
Look, I would
Uh,
say Ink's got a good Indiana Jones vibe too, so.
That's true. Mine
Definitely
was
true.
more Peaky Blinders vibe.
Yeah, I meant real life.
Yeah.
Kind of how I was going for.
I
Yeah.
mean, real life, you guys are the most fashionable. In game, it's questionable. You guys are all kind of snazzy looking, but Sarah had a lot of input on a lot of the design choices. Obviously, like trying to please give me inspiration for a unique design, begging.
There were a couple of players that I might have had to have begged for like more reference.
A couple of players, you say? I wonder who those two players of undistinct origin could possibly be the two that needed design help.
Yeah. You guys play multiple campaigns. It could be anyone, right?
Yeah, totally.
So Daughter of Tiamat from Discord asks, how do you feel that you and everyone else at the table has grown as players and as dungeon masters? I assume from the first campaign, as well as from the start of this campaign.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I
big
will
question.
say, it's harder for me to look at my own personal growth, I guess,
Hmm.
but I definitely see the growth of everyone around me, and particularly Alex has become a more outspoken person who stands on his own feet. I've noticed in real life as well as in the game. I think the journey of Avelios was really a good thing for you to experience as your first time, like kind of coming into the world and like learning to be your own person is a good reflection of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen
Avelios was like my first ever D&D character, right? And what do you do with your first D&D character? You make it like yourself because it's comfortable. And
Yeah.
then it forced me to put myself in uncomfortable situations that I would never otherwise experience. So learning how to navigate those kind of experiences and situations while also never actually doing that in real life is interesting. Just because like it forces you to have an answer for something. And then you can kind of translate that into real life is like I'm kind of soft spoken. It's just how I don't speak a lot. I just kind of like to chill and hang out. But now it's like I fucking have. Sometimes I feel like I can't stop speaking. I just always want to talk now. It's really interesting to see. And yeah, and even like even Randy, like I've noticed it in Randy a lot. Like when we were playing like Agnir and Icilius, like he was very soft spoken, didn't really say a whole lot, and that's kind of how I was as Avelios too. Is because like I was kind of getting used to the whole D&D thing still, and then for this character, I was like, I'm gonna go fucking balls to the wall. I'm just gonna try to break all the shells that I have left and see if I can do it. This is where we're at.
yeah. I mean like for me I think the playing with you guys at the start was always it was always kind of natural. It felt like, oh yeah, this group it felt like we were friends for a long time before.
One of the first times I think you and I met was D&D stuff.
We literally met the day you came over to roll your fucking character.
Yeah, so it was
You
just like
That was
came
the
over
day
that
you
night.
guys met?
That was the day we met. That was the
Wow.
first conversation me and Alex had was when he came to our house to roll Avelios.
Damn, I did not realize that.
Yeah, we
yeah,
never talked before the campaign
Because we had hung
started.
out
Or till
very.
then.
I thought there were some drunk and/or high evenings where we listened to your guys' punk music and sang.
that was after.
That was after.
That was
Okay.
way after.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cute story, by the way, but
Because
nonetheless.
before Christmas Save started, Jake, you and I reconnected for like 3 weeks before that. And
Was
then
it
you're like,
only
"Let's play
3
D&D."
weeks?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we had just moved
Well,
back.
because we were
or
friends
you had moved
before, but
back
I had
and we
moved away,
here
and you sort of
Right.
had like our lives sort of split apart and then reconverged. Wow, I
It
can't.
was
It was D&D.
September
Shit.
of 2017 was when we
Damn.
reconnected, and then we
Yeah, I remember
started
you looked
Christmas
it up
Saves. I
recently.
think October.
Yeah. Well,
October
we
was
didn't
I
start
think when
Charisma
Christmas
Saves. We
Saves.
started playing D&D.
Well, no,
We started
that's
Christmas
when
Saves
we
like a
started
couple
playing
years later, but
D&D.
yeah. I just call it
That
Christmas Saves. It's so
campaign.
I
natural.
agree.
That
I agree.
became
Yeah, I do too. That was a good
But
campaign.
yeah, it was like within a month we were reconnected and playing D&D. It just felt
and it was like 12-hour sessions. We'd show up at noon and go in the basement and play until midnight.
DM's question. This is an easy one for me, but I want to. It's a similar question. Can you guys tell at least for me, from my perspective, the vast growth in DMing prowess since day one, or
oh my
Oh
god,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad it shows.
Yeah,
it's like night and day.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
and it
You've
wasn't
grown
bad
a
when we
lot.
started. And honestly, I was pretty happy with those, but like I said at the beginning of this, for fans and for you guys, I don't think you guys expect what's happening in this campaign at all. It is, I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud of what you guys, the reason it exists is because of what you guys did in the last campaign and how you changed the world, and that flavored whatever the story was going to be. Whatever decision you made in the last one was what campaign 2 was going to not reflect necessarily, but that was going to be the implications. That's what we're dealing with, and you guys chose certain paths that led to certain things. Now, obviously, the spoilers for campaign 1, the Zillideck thing, and how you resolve that was going to have some implication no matter what. I just didn't know what it would be. So
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to it. Like, do you guys remember the goblins?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
And what happened to the goblins there? That
The
impacts
goblins
this
be
world.
zoomed
Oh
away.
yeah, because
the
you might not have had goblins.
the planar refugees all have.
Yeah, they're
like
off.
there's tons of stuff in this. So, anyways, I'm glad you guys recognize that there has been some improvement here. I'm much more refined. My DM notes have gone down to like a page, which is awesome.
I can tell in the way that our sessions go, because I would say that the beginning of the campaign for like Christmas Save's like the first thing. It felt a little bit like Adventure of the Week or whatever. It was a little more like all over the place. And we had a bunch of wacky, goofy stuff that we went off and did. And so early in that campaign is just like, we went to a frog bistro, or we fucking
Yeah.
like we fought an undead bear in the woods. It was all kinds of weird
We
shit all
climbed
over the
the
place.
fucking stronghold of goblins and
We went through the meat dimension.
Well, all of these things were precursors for the other stuff, but yes,
Yeah,
some of it was
but
whack. It was
as
definitely
that-
a little more disjointed for sure.
Yeah, and
But-
as we went on, it started to feel more cohesive as things started to link together, and I could tell like over time it was becoming more and more refined. And going into this one is just like such an immediate upgrade. Plus, I mean, our offline campaign has also been just so upgraded over time as well. Like it's definitely been it is you are much more skilled than the very first time we sat down at a table together.
I think we all are, right? Like we've all just completely changed.
I'm still bad at math. That's the one thing I'm just
That's why you sit by me.
Hannah talks
I'm never
too.
gonna be able to
Hannah
do
talks
it.
too much. You can't do math. Randy tilts his head down towards himself and doesn't speak towards the mic. And then Alex sometimes goes, "Yeah, whatever, bro," in character. So these are the things that we work on, and we're not gonna be perfect. But and I say and I stutter a ton. So whatever.
Well, going back, Alex, to what you were kind of saying about how you kind of said it kind of offhandedly, like, your first D&D character,
Mhm.
you kind of create as a self-insert, whatever, which is, I think, maybe not necessarily like a rule for every person, but there is a little bit of truth to that. And like you said, you feel that D&D has helped you grow in certain areas. Um, Knowing that, have you, when you were creating Isaac, did you purposefully do anything with the character to challenge yourself to either grow in a different way, or just to do something just to kind of take you out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, so when Jake and I were talking about Isaac in the early conception, I essentially was creating Isaac because Avelios he was confident, but he was like quiet a lot. Like he was always confident in his own abilities when it came to combat. So as Isaac, I was like, I just want to be the most confident motherfucker all times, at all times, at all possible moments. I just want to be like that guy. And I am not that in real life. I don't have a lot of confidence in any situations or most situations. So it's like Isaac is just like a whole different like ball game for me. It's like you have to be confident all the time, no matter the situation. Even if you're not equipped in this situation to be confident, you still have to be. That's kind of like Isaac's thing is like I just want to be able. I don't know if there was a lot of like Peaky Blinders inspiration from Thomas Shelby put into Isaac because Thomas Shelby always walks into a situation and if you've seen Peaky Blinders, obviously, he always is just like he's going to win that situation. That's how he always thinks in X. So that's kind of where Isaac comes from. Is like I just want to be able to always win and act like I'm going to win every situation. So I always think I'm at an advantage, and the other people think they're always at a disadvantage.
Pretty excited for a Thomas Shelby breakdown. Just tossing that out there. Those are good episodes. So
Yeah.
No fighting. And he's like, no fighting, no. And then just beats the shit out of the first person he sees. I want that break.
Oh, there's a lot of different sources of inspiration that I kind of plucked from little different facets of stuff that really kind of molded Isaac. Like, while we were creating them, I was watching a lot of Shadow and Bone. If you've seen
I
Shadow
had
and
sent
Bone,
that. I think
and
I
you,
actually I sent it to you because I was drawing Isaac and I was like, what's really a cool vibe? I was like, you should look at Kaz Brecker, and
and then
you
I watched it.
immediately watched it and fell in love. So
Yep. For those who don't know, in Shadow and Bone, there's a character called Kaz Brecker who walks with a cane and kind of has like this whole cool, like confident underground kind of business criminal guy. So he's got like this whole like persona of him, and I was kind of like trying to mold myself into a couple different people, Thomas Shelby and Kaz, and a couple others that are just like trying to mold into like what I think Isaac is going to be versus what he is now. It'll be really cool. I can't wait.
Could be interesting. Has there been anything in the campaign so far that has really significantly challenged you in that regard?
I think the biggest challenge that I have had personally was that hotel scene, where I just went in like I'm going to get to this person if I have to do something crazy or not, and just talk my way through it. And like when that situation happened, like even like when we were on our way there, like in my head, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm just taking over control of this, and I'm going to make it work.
I'm gonna be
Which
honest.
I don't.
After that session, Sarah and I, we obviously lived together, and we talked about, we're like, Alex literally Heisman someone out of a scene and
yeah, you didn't
chose
even
to
let
be
me
the
take a
only one.
fucking.
Or I guess Alex, not Isaac. Alex chose to be the only one in a scene, and that's new, and it was fucking fun, and we should do it again more times because it doesn't happen a lot. Like obviously, Hannah's gonna find her way into a spotlight. She is like a moth. Okay, she will fly into your spotlight sometimes. Not because she's like she shouldn't be or anything like that. It's just because she's very effervescent and she always has something funny to say. I play like that too, and I try not to. And I know that she holds back a lot. I can see her hands move when she wants to say something, and she holds back. And it offers a lot of things. But I really like when one of you guys, specifically you and Randy, because again you were quiet in the last campaign as characters and just as people. So it's nice to see you guys sort of like literally take that on, and I like that your internal monologue was, I'm doing this, and I encourage it, and you did a great job. That was a great scene.
I love it.
I
I
was
do it
gonna
more.
have. I was already thinking of lies that I could tell. I was like, "Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh fuck!" Like, what are we gonna say? And I was like coming up with things like, "Oh, we're here to like be your servants for the day or something." I don't know, like to get into the room. And then you immediately were just like, "Hey, can you go back to the?" I was like, "Okay, all right, you got this. I'm trusting you. This is a trust fall, a trust exercise."
It was my red herring, so to speak. It was to get one on one, and it worked.
It sure did. I mean, from an audience perspective, that I would not have picked up on that. That was a challenge for you or the character. It came off as very natural, and went off without really a hitch. You really, really kind of bamboozled that poor woman.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it was kind of part of Isaac's creation. Was like Avelios was just kind of like he wasn't very analytical. He just kind of like did what had to be done and didn't really think about a lot of stuff. But Isaac is like the complete opposite. Like he analyzes every single situation possible. So it's like a complete 180 from Avelios's personality to Isaac, which is uncomfortable but fun.
It's definitely a challenge going to a completely different type of character. Um, Sarah, same question. I mean, same question from like 5 minutes ago. Is there anything that you chose intentionally with Isabella that either was out of your comfort zone or just something to do to challenge yourself?
Um, yeah, actually, I mean, the reason why I decided to make Isabella the way she is I wanted someone that was so opposite of me in the sort of like emotionally and empathetically and all of that. She's very literally the polar opposite of Alenia, so I'm going from these very extreme mindsets. But, no, it is, like, I literally have to think a little more fucked up, when I'm in the mindset of her than I would in my normal life. Like, it's a weird thing to experience because like, everyone's so appalled by, like, she would eat that homeless person, but she's thinking about things in this very utilitarian way. Um yeah, it's kind of like just trying to be a purely logical person and realizing how much of a sociopath that would make you if you only operated purely on logic. Um, it is a little challenging.
Uh, well, that was fun. Let's see. I think we've got two more Discord questions that we can knock out. Des Viper asks, this is something that I hadn't really thought of, so I'm curious if you guys have. How paranoid are you about spies?
Like, what kind of spies, I guess?
I have the same information that you do.
Ah, hmm.
That has never crossed my mind, and
How
does
about
not.
not necessarily spies like 007? What? How do you feel about your privacy? How about that? How do you guys feel about your privacy
I
as
think that
people with semi-sensitive stuff going on?
I think that Isabella wouldn't. Again, it's very practical. It's like, should they know? Is it a problem if someone knows that information? But I don't think she's actively like concerned or anxious about people in the future, like possible outcomes. It's kind of like if that's a thing, we'll get to it when we get to it. She's facing what's there now. And so far, we haven't had anything that's made us feel like, I don't know, anyone would be really trying to dig into our personal bullshit. Mostly in the host, it felt like it made sense to be a little on the lookout for like, okay, who's a part of this weird possible cult? Like, who's actually like telling us the truth? But I wouldn't call it like paranoia.
Isaac is, now that we have like a warehouse that we can kind of close ourselves off from the world from. I think at first he would be is more or less a little bit worried about it because he knows what the serum can do. Um, so he's kind of worried about just trying to keep that information safe. I think that's his number one goal is just trying to protect that information because if other people get that information, then they start popping up more and more and more. And that's not something he wants because it's nowhere near good enough at the current point. Um, so for spies, I mean, it's kind of 50-50. It's like it's now that we're in our warehouse, it's a little his he's a little bit more relaxed because he knows that like there's only a couple entrances. So he can actually kind of be a little bit more free with how he operates, I guess. But it's still like when he's not in the warehouse, it's kind of like a kind of looking over the shoulder every now and then, but he's not. It's not like a priority. So I guess until like that, if that situation ever happens where he's brushed with, he knows that someone is watching him, or he knows the intentions of someone who might be watching him. I think right now it's just kind of like a it's there, but it's not like a something that like worries him.
Sure. Yeah, I was just trying to think a little deeper about what they might have been getting at. And the only thing I think I can think of is just the underworld element. You know, you guys are dealing with Rossi and the Gold Boys, who on the surface at least seem pretty trustworthy. You would think honor amongst thieves, but there, perhaps there's some uh, um, people in conflict with them that might be interested in using you. But other than that, yeah, I really can't think of too much. Ink obviously has attracted the interest of the police, but that seems like that's probably just kind of normal for her.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So the last question was from the Discord, was from Vexar, which was, how did your vision of the characters change as the game progressed? And we've kind of talked quite a bit about that, and now you guys have had these characters planned for 3 years. Do you have anything more that you want to add?
I would say I actually tweeted it out while it was we were talking about it earlier. On my Twitter, I posted my initial concept sketches of the twins and actually one tiny sketch of ink. Um, from ideas that we initially had when we started coming up with these characters. And they're very different than the outcome now, but you could still see like obviously the visual of the twins was always a very heavy focus. Like we kind of knew what we were going with early on. It was mostly their personalities that really changed. I think when we first talked about it, Isaac was going to be like a very scared and shy person,
Yeah, he was
and
gonna be afraid of
Isabella was
literally
going.
everything.
I think Isabella was going to be a little. She was just going to be a human, and maybe have like a prosthetic limb or something. That changed a couple of times. It's very Violet Evergarden inspired, but
I think there was a version
uh,
of the character where it was the symbiote who had taken the arm and it was like replaced or something.
yeah, like there she might have just had like a symbiote arm.
And I
We
remember
thought
Isaac
about that.
specifically, we used the word coward a
Yep.
ton.
Yeah.
I
And
remember we talked about rolling like actual like checks, like fear checks, in certain
yeah, we had
situations.
mechanics and
Like,
stuff that we had been sort of thinking about. These characters, I think Ink is the only one that I think had a through line of consistency from inception.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, when we talked to Randy in a future episode of this, I'd be interested to see if he had any. This guy always has character and stuff going on in his head. We text pretty often about it, and Soren was particularly like race. And I have several subclasses that may never be released that I was like, hey, do you like this? And he's like, yeah, I like this, but what if we did something else? And so we have a lot of stuff. And then I think Alex's was the biggest undertaking when we, like, as we sort of talked it through, Isaac really became fleshed out. And then Sarah made some cool art of Isabella, and then it sort of set in stone.
the thing for Randy was we thought he was going to be a tiefling because we were thinking he was going to use like a Strahd character from a one shot we did because he really liked that character. He was like a shadow sorcerer or some shit, like white tiefling with black hair and like I remember drawing a picture of him because he looked really cool. Uh, but like after that, he did not tell us at all what the fuck his character was going to be until like right until I got reference material to know for the game like what he was. Um Meanwhile, I think the only thing like Isabella's personality was always going to be a little bit off. I wanted her to be creepy. But I was thinking more like creepy child vibe than what we got now. And more of like a refined adult sort of young adult way, but then she just is also kind of horrible underneath.
oh, with Isaac, I feel like we picked. It was like class was probably the last thing we did. Like, I don't even think we talked about classes until like the very, very end of Isaac coming to creation, and then I was like, nothing fits. Like, there's nothing here that just makes sense to what we want to do. And then the wonderful mind of Jake happened.
Wonderful mind of Jake. Sounds like like a primetime sitcom or something.
Sounds like players trying not to get killed. Smart. Keep it up. Keep
Dang,
it up.
man,
Oh
after
my
that
God,
last
yeah, we're just
online
kissing your
session, I'm
ass.
doing all the best I can.
We're just kissing your ass the whole time.
Well, let's do a little more ass kissing, because there's a bunch of stuff that we just kind of haven't really talked about, because there's we're 7 sessions in or so. It's almost a full day of gameplay if you watched it start to finish. So what haven't we talked about that you guys are really want to talk about, or just was really fun to either watch another player do or just be a part of?
Mm. Oh boy.
While you guys think, I want to say my favorite part of this, and you should definitely think of an answer. Don't let me copy you. But my favorite thing was being back at the table again. Easily. Because obviously COVID and stuff, we'd been playing remote, and we started the game at home, and we used to, again, Sarah said we played for like 12 hours when we first started. I was DMing about 12 hours for sessions for a while, 8 hours sometimes. It was long.
And that was every week too.
That was every week.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a lot. I can't believe I kept up that pace. But it was. We also had a bigger table, but I think just the vibe changed immediately, and everyone gets a little bit more comfortable when you're not on a camera looking at yourself. I think,
Yeah.
even though Sarah likes to look at this screen all the time, you might notice she does the. Oh, you guys can't see me here. Switching screens.
Look,
she'll do like this.
I glance over because it's literally in my eye line and
I
it's
know.
moving, so I can't not look at it.
might have to move
It's
it
like
at
a
some point.
ADHD
Yeah, I just put the
thing.
cameras on my main monitor so when I'm looking at myself, no one knows. Not
See,
everyone
but
knows, but yeah.
like the way that the table is set, I'm right here,
Yeah.
Jake is right here, and then right behind him, facing me, is the monitor for the stream. And so I just sometimes I just look at it because like I see us moving, and so my eyes like focus on that.
I know being back at the table, like when we sat down for session 0, it just felt right. It just felt like, yeah,
When I
yeah.
walked down there and you guys had gotten all of the fabric draping finally set up, that was the moment for me where I was like, ooh, the mood has set totally. Just getting into that.
It's a lot better than the last one too, because the last one it was just like it was really open, and it was just kind of like a
Yeah.
big space, and we just had like that one
We had
thing, and
lights
then
in
a
our
little
fucking face the whole time.
yeah,
So
and then we had like a little backdrop, and like all the mics were in front of us, and like all of our sight lines, and
yeah,
no
every
one
time you try
was.
to look at the battle map, it's like you're doing this
You
because
gotta
there's
fucking
like
look over the
wires
map,
in the
right?
way.
But now
It was
it's like
very scuffed
we're all kind of
setup.
like intimate and cozy, and like I can touch all of them just by like
Mm-hmm.
reaching, except for maybe Jake. I'm gonna have to like stand up and reach. But like not like in the old setup, I would never be able to reach across the table and touch someone. But now
Yeah.
it's like we're just all intimate, we're all close, and it just feels warm and nice and chill. It's just like really it's hard to like explain unless you think of like a place that you've been in where you just kind of just felt
If
like
you've ever been, my grandpa had a room. He worked shift work, and he had a room in his house that was carpeted walls. Not because he was a stoner, but because he needed some place to sleep that would muffle the noises of the house moving around him. And that's the vibe I get down there. And I know you guys don't have
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia for that necessarily, but I certainly, when I'm in there, like I'm excited for the summertime a little bit when it gets warm down there, and it's like the perfect temperature because it's in my basement and it's a little cold. You might hear us bitch about it on stream, but
Yeah, it's pretty
uh,
cold.
I really think we had backdrops at first, and that was fine. But the fabric made it. It also looks nice on camera, and I like the low light setting. I know that sometimes it's not super conducive for everybody to see every detail, like Critical Role or something. But for us sitting at the table, low
The
light,
eye strain is
oh,
so
so
much better.
nice. It's so nice down there.
it's just cozy.
Um,
Like if we had a fireplace, it'd be ideal, but we can't have everything.
I'm trying to think of anything else that we haven't talked about that was like a moment or a thing, I guess.
Or a
I just know
favorite encounter or something like that?
I'm really excited to dive into fucking Soren's brain stuff. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm super curious about what the fuck's going on with that. And speaking of, I guess maybe we'll figure some. I took some things on my level up that are going to be very interesting, we'll say.
Do you
uh,
want to talk about that?
let's just say that Mistress and Isabella might be having a little conversation about some powers that extend outside of herself a little more. Uh, and maybe she'll get a little better at combat now that we've kind of experienced that. She might be able to be a little more useful. I will
Um,
say, going through a combat encounter with that Wendigo thing, the deer, while not having anything to be able to fight it off except for a dagger was a little, um I don't wanna say I wasn't nervous about it, that was the weird thing. I felt like we could fucking die right now, but I was really calm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why. I think it's because it was out of my hands. I knew that no matter what decision I took, all I could do is stab this thing and hope for the best.
Let's just say I'm not thrilled that we ended up having to do that encounter on the internet instead of at the table.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
have been
true.
a little different vibe, but it would have played out exactly the same. It was like a different encounter, but it was. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the future.
That was a fun fight because obviously, as everybody's seen Isaac fight before, not really a whole lot going on when it comes to combat. I can stab you with a scalpel, and this is the extent.
We're like
So when
fledglings.
yeah, like put into like that situation against something like that, it's like holy fuck! Like I'm just gonna stab it until I can't stab it anymore. And I was like Alex was a little nervous, but Isaac was not at all.
It's kinda like it makes it feel a little bit more visceral, a little more real, where it's like, how would a real person have to deal with this situation? Like, they don't have
Right.
fucking crazy ass magic. They can't throw fireballs at the thing. Like, you just
Level
fucking
one D
stab
and
it.
D is scary and hard, but it's like the most relatable,
Yeah.
which is fun.
I mean, that's certainly one way to look at it. Another way would be how Soren looked at it, which was to immediately start making Molotov cocktails the, the the moment he thought anything spooky was going to happen, um, which I certainly appreciated. Um, and then those came in handy. Not
They
probably in the way
did.
he thought, but they came back.
I appreciate that he's at least paranoid and takes action when he's paranoid. It seems to be working so far.
I mean, it makes me wonder uh, about more about his backstory. I mean, we know he's an author or whatever, but now I'm wondering if he has a little bit more of like Ash from Evil Dead going on in his background.
Yeah, I kinda get that vibe a little bit. 'Cause, like, he knew how to make a Molotov. He was like, "Yeah, fucking I do this all the time." So, he's got some shit going on.
I'm excited to just get more into everybody. Just because like I think with campaign one we were all a lot more like open with our ideas and stuff, and we
I
we
think the
talked
only thing
about
in campaign 1 is we just, like if we didn't talk to each other about a thing, it's because we didn't know the thing.
right, but now it's like we know mostly the things, but we don't talk about it, which is more fun
Mhm.
for everybody because now it's a mystery to everyone. Like there was a lot of stuff in campaign one. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of people like we just knew about each other kind of off the bat, right? Like we were a little more because we were all kind of like learning as we went together. Like we were
The
all just kind of
biggest
building
secret
together as we went.
the biggest secret was when I hit level 3 and I sprouted wings out of my back as it fell out of a tower and all of you went, "What the fuck?" 'Cause that
Yeah,
was we kept her heritage secret, but no,
but
like,
like
in this one,
it's a lot more locked down.
yeah, it's kinda it's like, if you need to know, then sure, but
But if you
I
don't, I'm not talking about it.
it's a symptom of talking about the characters with each player for multiple years, as the characters sort of build and we can write it. Like you guys were able to like we don't have to make so many like history checks for stuff you already knew and then are just now bringing up for like because you made the check
mhm.
correctly. There's a lot less of that as you guys know more about it, and I guess sort of under the surface, everyone is able to like sort of add their own reality to it. Like I'm not the only person that decides what exists. when we play the game. Like sometimes if they have like, oh, I went to the like, if Isaac gets in a conversation, it's like, oh yeah, I used to frequent this bar or whatever. He can sort of make up the bar, make up the drinks, make up the friends he had. Like it's not up to me to do that, or anyone can do this kind of thing. So when you run it like that, and you don't have, in my opinion, when DMs don't have so much control, I feel like the characters can live a little bit more outside of like just rolling the dice, and I like that. I actually think rolling the dice, while it is fun, I think the best D&D is when we roll the fewest dice in the session.
Yeah.
I agree. It's much more fun just going through everything without rolling dice. Like, yeah, rolling dice is fun, but like just being able to talk through stuff and like just monologue it and just talk about it is way better than like make a history check.
Yeah. The dice to me are like the, I don't know, it's sort of the anticipation of the idea for, I don't know, like if you're, how do I even explain that? It's the gamification of what you would normally do in roleplay, which is the fun part. And so if you keep it minimal, I think it is best, because you guys are so good at talking to each other in character. So.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys were talking a little bit about like what you want to find out about your fellow players, Soren's spooky brain things. What else do you guys, as players, less so as characters, because you guys all have your own stuff going on. But what mysteries do you want solved, or just what do you want to see from your fellow players?
Jake is smiling because he knows what I'm gonna say. I want to know what's going on with that fucking town. I want to know what's going on with the Reverend. I am so just like, wait, can we go back? Why are we being, no, send us back. I need to go back. I want to go back there. I'm so curious. There's so much shit. And I think both me and Isabella are on this thing where there's just too many things firing in our brains where you just want to go poke all the buttons. Kind of like the habit in an RPG where you want to go down every fucking pathway. When I saw all of that happening in that town, I need to know. But I thought we might die if we tried. So, uh, but I might not drop that thread because I'm so curious about it, honestly.
It's definitely interesting to Isaac because like he knows. Obviously, we all know that Reverend Gale is a goopy person, and Isabella is also kind of a goopy person in a sense. So it's like he has been.
And he
has
had a
been-
container that looked like her goop person
right. So it's
container.
like Isaac wants to see, is curious on like, is there a connection between the two? Maybe there's no connection. They look different, but maybe they're connected somehow, or vice versa. And then Isaac is also fucking curious about the mystery of who the fuck killed the guy he wanted to kill. For one, Atticus, because we all know he's dead, and obviously, well, that was kind of our
Yeah, like what the fuck is going on with that? Why? How? I don't know if I believe that he's dead. That's like
I'm
my
also
personal
curious.
conspiracy.
Isaac has a curiosity of the bite that was left on the child at the farmhouse, which is definitely interesting because I've never seen that before.
Imagine if you can harvest usable moon chips from a person's corpse by having them just being bitten by an animal.
That would be wild.
Do you know how fucking rich you could be off of? You just have to
It's
you just have to
it's
kill
just
a lot of people.
capitalism, man. It's just
Yeah,
exploiting.
basically.
Frickin-
Boy, that took a dark turn there.
Yeah.
Welcome
Sorry,
to
that's the
campaign 2.
nature of the characters.
So session 8, we're gonna be farming homeless people, and with bramble gores. Is that's where this goes, and it's just
Hey,
gonna turn
I
into a
mean,
workplace comedy?
if it worked, I could totally see them doing that. I think
Mhm.
there would be no issue. I mean, I think obviously Ink and Soren might have something to say about that. But if the twins found that as a new business venture, yeah, I think they'd do it.
I mean, ink's been bleeding you dry, so you gotta refill your coin purse
Yeah.
somehow. I mean, what
It's
else are
her
you gonna
fault.
do?
It's Ink's fault.
Yeah, it's Ink's fault that we had to kill all these people.
What? Like you guys are gonna go drive cabs?
No, or live in a hang house, please.
A single moral, I beg you. Just one ethic.
Oh god.
No, there are morals and ethics. They just disagree with yours.
Yeah, they're different.
So, um, Alex, going back real quick to so you were talking about how Isaac wants to project his confidence and his like the air of like I'm in control, I have things handled. You should feel you know uh, not at ease or whatever. You should feel like I have the advantage. How did it feel when in your first two encounters you rolled the lowest initiative
Fuck.
immediately?
Oof.
Alex expected. Because, well, I have -2 to my initiative, right? So, like, Alex as a person's like, yeah, I'm gonna roll like shit when it comes to initiative because I'm just whatever.
I mean,
Isaac, what was that?
I said it never feels good, but like when the dice screw you over on something that like deflates your character, it is just the worst.
Yeah. So the fun part about Isaac is he doesn't really care if his initiative is low or he goes last, I guess, if you could say it, because it just gives him more time to analyze the situation. So if he goes towards the bottom, he has a bunch of rounds to analyze what's happening and what's around him. Rather than going first and having to make the first move, now he can analyze and kind of think about, okay, if this happens, then I have this and this that I can plan for, or I can plan for this and this. And if that doesn't happen, then I know what I can do if I have to improvise or have like a contingency or something. So it's a lot more like Isaac almost prefers going last in initiative in a sense, just because it gives him more time to fledge out what's happening around him, which is when he's the most comfortable.
Really good way of looking at it. I think that just about covers all the questions I came up with and everything in Discord. I guess if anyone in the Twitch chat has any last lingering questions, we can look at those, or if there's anything that you guys just want to talk about
Yeah, that's what I
in
want to see.
general.
Is there anything you want to ask each other? One question.
Ask each other?
Yeah, do either of you have a question for the other one?
Ooh.
Like, obviously trying
When
to
are you
avoid
gonna tell your sister your big fucking plans?
In due
I
time,
don't
my
know what
child.
your fucking research is about.
I have a suspicion that this next stretch of downtime may at least spark one conversation, even if it's limited.
Oh yeah, for sure. Uh, hmm. It's hard for me to ask this question.
What?
Or no, not like to ask this question specifically, but a question in this situation.
Yeah.
Or is
Okay.
it
How about
like
this? Other than Reverend Gill, what are you most interested in doing? I guess. Like, what's the next like, either the player or the character? I don't really care which the answer it is. What is the thing that you are like? Ooh, I kind of wanna do this, knowing what you know of the world.
Isaac, obviously, one is looking for research ingredients. That's his next thing. Two, something he hasn't brought up but is going to bring up is he is. Let me see if this is the right word. No, that's not the right word. He is hesitant in the. Fuck, hold on. I forgot the name.
Of the crack.
In the Rossi
Oh.
relationship.
Mm.
because so far he's kind of done the same thing that Atticus has done. Provide him a place to work, provide like just and stuff like that. So he's excited that there's someone who's willing to not like to help, but he's also worried that what happened could possibly happen again, more or less. And that's kind of how he feels about every relationship now at the point, is like he's been betrayed, which was to him is like the ultimate betrayal for Isaac personally, is with the research and stuff like that. So it's kind of like every person that he comes in contact with or starts to form a relationship with, there's always going to be that doubt section. And obviously with some people it'll be bigger than others. Like with Isabella, there's none, obviously. But like,
Are you
the
guys
fuck
seeing what
happened to
Sarah
Sarah?
looked? Okay.
Hmm? Oh, am I
Uh,
fuzzy?
You look like
you're a little more than
we're in
fuzzy.
the
You
90s,
look like
homie.
you look like your head is a titty and we tried to blur it. I don't know what happened, but you look
What's going on?
yeah. You
I'm
look
in
like
witness
a voxel
protection.
version of yourself.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you're in witness protection. Change your voice.
I don't know why.
Well, I think Isabella's face. Well, I don't know how to reclaim the quality on the Discord, so
I think that's just our
I
upload.
think that's just what's gonna be
Which-
what it's gonna be like for a
yeah.
second. So, um,
We have a question in chat.
yeah. Well, that you didn't answer the question that I asked,
Oh,
so
wait,
I take
wait, what was-
precedence. The question was
Why? I actually asked him a question, like you said, but
you asked a question.
Mhm.
Wait, what was the question?
She asked me a question. I just can't answer it.
Oh. The question.
Well,
is,
it's about the research stuff. So
Oh, okay. The question I asked was, as a player or a character, what are you most looking forward to do next, Sarah / Isabel? Besides Reverend stuff.
help Isaac with his research because I really want to see where the fuck that's going.
Okay.
Because I'm curious.
I do think this next question in chat is the best one, though. Maybe one to end on. Might be a good one.
Are we just gonna answer right out of chat? Is there a specific moment or experience you want your character to have? I want to see Isabella get pushed in a way that challenges her ability to hold back her impulse. I want to just see I would like to see how the party handles how she would deal with that, I guess. Because I kind of already know where like how that would play out in most circumstances for her. But I'm kind of curious how everyone else would react. Like I don't know, if somebody really fucks with Isaac, would she like hold back the ability to hurt them? Or, or the want to hurt them or something? Anything that would challenge her in that way is kind of what I'm looking for.
you could have Sarah dip and rejoin real quick. That might fix it.
Go ahead and try. We'll
Okay.
see what happens. I'll go to this view real quick. Wrong button. We'll see if her camera comes back. Huh? It worked. There it is. Hell yeah.
It's not the 90s anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was. And I guess that means to Alex / Isaac. What's an experience that you want your character to have? Thanks, pronouns, by the way.
I think the situation that would make Isaac the most uncomfortable, maybe just something that he's not used to, is someone calling him out on this bullshit. Because back where we came from, like our dad was a surgeon. He's like kind of, obviously he's a surgeon. Like everyone knows, if it's like a small town, you know your surgeon. So we have like that status symbol of like we're always like we're just known, and now we're not known, but Isaac still acts like we're known. and that people should respect us. So when that situation where people call that out on the like the bullshit of like, no, you guys are nothing. You're not like, you're just nothing, and you don't have any status, and you don't deserve respect, and blah 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 blah. This is something that he's never experienced before. So that would be really interesting to see how Isaac in that moment would respond, because I don't know how he would respond essentially, because it's not a situation that I've ever thought of. So it would be cool.
Can you think of who would be the best / or the worst person to confront him with that? Who would really get under his skin?
If it was anyone in the party, it would be Ink. Like if Ink started like doing that shit, like it would probably bother him the most in the party.
He kind of does that with everyone, though.
Yeah,
Right,
true.
but it's not as it's kind of indirect.
That's
like
true.
if she were to like fucking like lay it on the fucking line and just like go all out, I don't know how Isaac would respond.
That's true. I don't think we've really seen Ink like mean, like kind of glib and sarcastic, but not like really. She's never really gone for blood necessarily. And as fun as that would be, I don't know that. I don't know that I want to put Isaac.
Yeah,
through
I'm
but
interested to see how the Ink and her sister situation plays out a lot, because
For
we've
sure.
never
Yeah.
really seen Ink in like a high stress, high tension moment that I can
That's
think
true.
of.
At least in a
I'd
way
be
that like it means something to her other than
right,
like I'm trying to survive.
right. Like I'm really excited to see Soren and Ink be put in that situation where it's personal, not just I have to survive. It's more like they're actually coming for something I give a shit about. That would be interesting to see, because we haven't seen that side of either of them yet. It'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll get there. We have. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a question in chat. It was not. It was just a kind comment.
Oh.
I can read it with the inflection of a question if you'd like, but I don't think that's going to get us anywhere.
I went on a submarine tour once where the person put a question mark at the end of all their sentences audibly.
Oh no.
When they were delivering information, like, this is the bunker, or this is the barracks, this is the mess hall, and I just remember being so fucking annoyed. I forgot. I literally, I don't remember shit about submarines. I've been in one. I don't remember it because of that person's terrible guide.
Just specifically that person?
Yeah.
They didn't provide any information. They just asked rhetorical questions the whole time.
He was a good looking young man, and he didn't have apparently a goddamn cell in his brain other than looking okay. Big himbo energy. Okay. I guess does anyone have at this table or this thing, including Harv? Do you have any one question for me before we end? With the obvious caveat that I can't provide you with spoilers.
I don't have any questions that you
Okay.
can answer.
Okay.
Yeah, me either.
Okay.
Oh, I got tons of questions. Let me see if I have any that.
Harv has asked me some questions in DMs, and I'm like, well, here's the very, very unsatisfying answer I can give you here.
I mean, it is what it is. Oh, come on. I didn't. Oh, here we go.
How much emotional damage do you have planned for him? I don't think any D&D campaign is a quality long-term experience if nobody cries throughout the entire process, right? I feel as though crying is an exercise.
I think you just like watching me cry.
But
I'm not gonna.
that we stigmatize a little bit as a good cry. Like I think in Alex drank some water again, but Specifically, Alex mentioned at the end of campaign 1, we all had a good cry at the end because we were all emotional for the campaign ending, and I didn't realize the emotions that I would have, and I thought that I would cry anyway. But everyone had a tear, and that was nice, and I think it just feels good, and because again, like Alex said at the beginning of this, it's a safe place to explore unsafe things, and I don't know. I'm really interested to see, like, what happens if one of you guys fucking dies? Your brother and sister in this campaign. Like, I'm not gonna.
Well, I was gonna say,
I'm gonna try to kill you guys, but someone in the campaign might.
I was the crybaby of campaign 1. I don't think that'll be the case in this one, considering the headspace I have to be in.
Yeah.
I don't foresee her crying a lot. So that's definitely a flip in personality there.
That's why it's interesting.
It's okay though. You traumatized me.
If you were to cry, that's what I'm saying. Like, what a weird.
That would be
set
a
of
fucking
circumstances.
wild.
At least right now where the character's at. Obviously, we're level 2 now. We just turned level 2, so I don't know where we're gonna be in 3 years, but fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, like the end of campaign 1 when we were going through our epilogues. Like, that's the part that got me the most.
I remember when you just...
Because, like, the realization hit of, like, I'm never playing this character again. And I've been playing it for 3 years. And then I started reading the epilogue, and then it all just kind of crashed at once. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
So I do have a... I won't give you one of the more open-ended questions because we've been here for a while, but just as a DM, how did you feel about having 2 gunslingers in your party? Was that something that informed the world? Because you go to a gun shop at one point, it seems like guns are now a part of the world. Was that something that existed prior to the characters?
Guns have, so in the campaign, since we're 30 years past Moon Crash, which is the end of campaign 1, so minimal spoilers for campaign 1, but the people self-defense has moved away from magic, right? Not a ton. I mean, not entirely, but like magic around 5th level starts to get really sketchy, and past that is like impossible to cast now, unless you really put an effort. And the moonships are kind of the only way to accomplish that right now in the world, which makes high level magic rare. And because of that, firearms had already existed, but at least the way I justify it in my head, this is the lore, I guess, would be that, and I guess I'll go to this view just a sec because I'm talking, but I guess the lore of it would be that the advancement of like firearms and stuff was stunted for a long time because people didn't need it. You could shoot fireballs at people, right? A little different. You could cast spells on them to do a lot of different things than just fire iron through them. But swords and stuff still existed. But there was proficiency for that. And these 2 characters are a product of the 30 years after that, where there was conflict. There was like political disruption. Many of the places these people lived were like all upheaved due to this like cataclysm that the world faced. It was also a good day because nothing, the whole world didn't end, but some people's worlds ended, right? And I think that's interesting to have the players sort of deal with the implications of their own actions as different people. But as far as the gunslinging thing, they're not they don't have any of the gunslinger like attributes from the Matt Mercer thing. It is a more grounded take on firearms, I think. I think it's a good system. I'm not gonna let either, especially not Randy, be a gunslinger in the campaign. But they could twist my arm if that's the way they really wanted to go with it. Although I think it'd be a little bit more boring. But firearms in this, like, I don't know if Ink isn't proficient in firearms. she has that gun, but she isn't proficient in it. She's not had it for a long enough time. She could, as we level up, the way we do weapon proficiencies is sort of weapon type rather than martial and simple. We have an expanded weapon sort of homebrew system that is way more interesting and it lets you do like special stuff with the weapons. You might hear them say like, "Oh, I have a different status effect if I crit on this one, or I get extra." You've heard Ink for sure say, "If I stand at exactly 10 feet and use my whip, I get bonus damage." Stuff like that, to where your cane.
In the last episode, I crit with my scalpel. And that causes extra bleed damage because I got a scalpel crit.
Yeah, and it's like it's a little bit more expanded weapon system, so the guns fit in a lot better. And just I like the vibe. I think the vibe is so interesting with like this guy who, and in game he's talked about this, so I can talk about it. He comes from a country, like Soren comes from a country where it was war torn for a while, and so he has a sidearm that he uses as his primary self defense. But I suspect as we come into our roles a little bit more, he'll be using that less and less as his character swaps over to the whatever his class is, right? And now he'll still have it and it'll still be effective forever, but he is actually proficient in it. And I don't know, I just think, and the sort of like Indiana Jonesy vibe we got going with Ink is it'd be weird to have that without a gun, right? Yeah, and they're not like super cheap. They can break. They're technically more strong. They're strong enough that like it's a little bit stronger than like a great sword since it has range at first, but the misfire scores and how we deal with durability of weapons and stuff really balances that out, and it makes the resource of the bullets themselves kind of important. And I like that. I like the idea of everything mattering in D&D, because so often, especially if you play a lot of D&D, a big thing is I end up having way too much money and items that just are on a list somewhere that I forget I have until I like, oh shit, I have this diamond that I could have used 3 sessions ago. But I think having it a little more tactile in the way that we do it and a little more scarce helps everybody feel like their decisions are important, and also knowing part of the gun thing is also knowing that they don't have a healer in the group, at least not a traditional healer by any stretch of the imagination. They don't have cure wounds or any of that. So part of the baked in mechanics of the world allow them and enemies to do a little bit more damage. So fights end a little bit differently. It's going to be a little bit more of a brutal feel, I think. And also, they have more back end sort of, like they can do stuff after they hit 0 hit points rather than they just fall over, which I think will lead to some dramatic moments. So it's all sort of balanced around the idea that the guns should feel like they suck to get hit by, because they suck to get hit. Like, you don't want to get shot. Nobody wants to get shot. There's a reason. It sucks. And it should feel like that at every level of the game. And I think it will. I think, oh no.
Oh no.
But yeah. Mechanically speaking, I think we've sort of found a nice thread in this campaign to it feels good, right? I feel like we feel good in this campaign. Everybody feels like they're very unique, and you got your stuff, and the items feel important. And I think we finally, because I don't know, when you play D&D, especially as much as we have, you find like, you know, rules as written is fine, but every table kind of needs a little bit something depending on the play style, and
it gets a little
you
samey
get one note when you just roll the dice and you hit or you don't. It's nicer to roll the dice and maybe there's an extra status effect. Maybe if I position myself correctly, I get a bonus. Maybe I can use this item to do something different. Oh, I only have 1 bullet left. It takes an action to reload. Do I want to fire this? Or I have a full loaded gun. Like Ink has an option to fan the hammer, but she loses accuracy as she goes. So it's like one of those things, like there's a lot of decisions to be made, and I think they feel good. And also, not for nothing, but you fan the hammer and you start missing. That's 6 bullets that you paid for that are gone in a system where you need those. So yeah,
it's a lot more engaging as a player too.
I say so. Yeah, it's more engaging as a
like
DM.
you're not just attack. Okay, I hit. I do this damage. it's like, oh shit, can I do something else? Like, do I have a special effect? Or we get hit, or you're like, oh, we hit the AC.
Right.
Or we always miss, but the way we're doing it is fucking awesome.
We've dabbled in discussions about different ways to do AC that I don't think are good for this campaign, but that would have been way better for the last campaign.
Yeah.
Was sort of I don't know how to describe it. It'd be pretty easy, but it'd be basically like, do you dodge the attack, get hit by the attack, and mitigate it, or do you get hit? So, depending on the armor you're wearing and stuff like that. But we're not doing that in this campaign. No one's really wearing armor, so it's not really a big deal. But glancing blows are a thing we've added for that reason. It always feels bad hitting exactly AC or getting hit exactly AC and still doing full damage, but I like the idea of a glancing blow. I like doing half damage on that, so it doesn't feel like you lost out, but it doesn't feel like your AC... Because I feel like when your AC is 18, it's actually 17. That makes sense?
Yeah.
In rules is written. But in this, it feels like, okay, that is my AC, but they kind of tap me a little bit, or you tap them, and it just gives you a little bit more hits. I think the more you hit in D&D, the less you feel like you wasted your turn. So missing is still an option, obviously, as Soren and Isaac have proven. But I'm of the opinion that I'd rather have lower AC and more hit points on a creature. Like, it just feels bad to whiff. It just feels bad.
Especially sometimes I whipped as a Velios with like plus 13, and I'm like, this sucks.
That was a symptom of Alenia existing. And again, if we would have been able to implement, like, it's basically an evasion class, armor class system where, again, you dodge or you mitigate. If Alenia was mitigating damage with 25 AC most of the time rather than not taking any, it would have changed the game completely. Think about if they don't go down at 0 hit points, what happens to Professor's outlook on healing herself constantly.
Yeah, right?
Which was a symptom of, if I don't heal myself, I might not get a turn. Right, so I think this fixes a lot of problems. That was more than just guns, but I think we expanded more.
We kind of rambled,
but nonetheless, it feeds into it. Like, I think the gun decision was informed by. I mean, basically, Hannah wanted a gun, and from the beginning, Randy's character had a gun in every iteration, and so it was just like, although the very first iteration, I believe his name was Ataraxis.
Yeah.
He was shooting spells out. It was just a spell. It was like a wand, basically. He was just gonna shoot spells out the gun, which is cool. But now it's a much different vibe, and I like it. Well, that was
thank you.
That was fun as fuck. You guys did a great job.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put you back.
This is really fun.
I'm silent now.
Well, thank you for that detailed answer. I don't think, like I said, I don't think I have anything else. If you guys have any last scores you want to settle before we dip out.
No,
I
think that's good.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for talking to me. I had a lot of fun. Chad, thanks for being here with us. If you're watching this after the fact, I hope you tune in next time. I hope y'all ask some questions next time. We had some fun questions in the Discord. And I liked where a lot of those went. So definitely, give us more material to work with.
Yeah, and make sure to follow Harv on Twitter. A good follow, a friendly fellow, a very funny fellow, like genuinely super funny all the time. And I'm super excited for the Ink Soren episode whenever that happens.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it actually kind of soon, since we're kind of at the end of that level 1 arc and we're starting level 2 and sort of settling in for whatever the future holds for this team. I'd love to have their opinions on stuff and all of your questions. Thanks for sending questions, guys. And thanks, Harv, for having questions. Just since you're a normal, curious person that just wants to know stuff. This is why I can't host this, because I know too many answers, and I like I've literally written a lot of notes tonight. I have a whole notebook. Sneak peek. Just kidding. I have a whole notebook filled with different notes and stuff when we do this stuff, and good stuff, guys.
Giving him whole new ways to mess with the character.
Well, it's not even messing with the characters, really. It's honestly the way I treat this is not as villain intel, but it's more of like you want to set the correct tone, and the more information I have as a DM, like, and they might not like how many questions were asked tonight, and you're like, I hadn't thought about that, and then you think about it, right? That happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just great to, yeah, it's a fantastic tool, and I think it makes the game better in general. So everyone, when the game is good, blame Harvey.
True.
True.
So yeah, thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.